Dr. Ken Berry and Neisha Berry have spent the last decade telling millions of people eat fatty meat, bacon, and butter. And for 7 years straight, Neisha ate high fat every single day. She lost weight, felt amazing, and she got her Hashimoto's under control. But now she's changing her approach.
I'm going to be 40. What happens after 40? 50. What happens after 50? 60. What am I doing to make sure when I get 50 and 60, I'm still okay, and not just okay, but really happy, healthy, and strong?
Neisha Berry is a registered nurse, a certified health coach, and co-founder of the PhD community, where she's helped hundreds of thousands of people transform their health with food. In today's video, we cover why she's lowering her fat, increasing her protein, and why she believes this is going to be healthier in the long haul. There will also be a second part to this conversation where we talk about simple strategies to increase your protein. I know for a lot of you guys, you're trying to eat more protein, or you forget, you're busy in the day, you're just not hungry for more food. And so Neisha and I will cover some very simple strategies to trick your brain and trick your mind into eating more protein. So stay tuned for that. Don't be silly. Subscribe to Lillie, and let's jump into the interview. Neisha, you have been eating a high-fat, keto, animal-based, meat-based diet for the last, I think, 7 years now. And at least what I've been seeing on your channel, it seems like things have been changing a little bit, where you're maybe taking back some of the fat and adding in more protein. Why is that?
Right. So a lot of that is because I will be 40 in February. And protein is super important to preserve your muscle. When you hit a certain age, you start losing muscle, and protein helps preserve it and build it. And so I wanted to know how much protein I was eating. And I eat meat-based, and like that, this should be a lot of protein. And so I challenged myself to track accurately with a food scale consistently for 2 weeks to get a good baseline. And so really opened up my eyes to seeing what my macros were. My carbs were pretty much exactly what I thought, typically between under 10, the highest being like mid 30s, all coming from whole food sources. And my fat was high, which I was pretty sure it was going to be high. But my protein was not where I had assumed. I thought it would be at least 100 grams, but it was much more consistently like 80 to 90, which isn't terrible, but isn't what I think I need to sustain my strength, gain strength, increase my bone density over the next few decades. Like, I'm not just looking for what I want in this moment. It's what do I want in the next 30, 40, maybe I'll live to 100, who knows, years. And so setting goals now for those next few decades comes a lot down to eating protein, lifting weights, and making sure that I am protecting my body. I am a short, white woman. I am highly susceptible to having osteopenia, which would turn into osteoporosis. It runs in my family. It's not just the osteoporosis, it's kyphosis with the humpback. All of my aunts, my grandma, they all had it, and super brittle bones. My grandma fell, and she didn't break a bone when she fell. Her bone broke, and then she fell. That's how brittle her bones were. And she was on all the medications, but back then, there was no hormone replacement therapy for women. That wasn't really a thing. Women were not in the gym. That was unladylike. She grew up in a different era. We are so lucky to have much more information at our disposal. YouTube, training programs, gyms that are right down the road, home gyms if you're lucky enough. And so that's my main goal, is to preserve my body, strengthen my body, and be one of those amazing 75-year-old women in the gym, still lifting weights and being sassy.
Awesome. So for people who may not be as familiar with your meals, what were they looking like in the past, where your carbs were, under 30 and your protein was 80 to 90? What were those meals looking like?
Right. And you can look at a lot of my What I Eat in a Day videos over on YouTube and pretty much see I was eating things on repeat. So a lot of ground beef, but my ground beef was the 80-20 usually, sometimes even higher fat than that. A lot of chicken thighs, chicken wings, fatty steaks, bacon, eggs, right? And then on top of that, I would also add butter to my cooking, right? So I would cook the fatty meat and more fat. And then I always would pour the fat back over my meat because flavor, and I'm not scared of fat. I don't, I'm fat is not holding me back from what my goals are, but the lack of protein could potentially start to become a problem once I start really, because right now I'm doing really basic lifting of the weights. I'm not in there slamming, like, I'm just lifting normal. If I choose to do something more extreme than that and push my body more, if I'm not eating enough protein now, like that could cause a lot of problems. And so, yeah, I've just tweaked it. So instead of eating the fatty cuts of meat on top of fattiness, it's lean cuts of meat cooked in the fat, or the fat is on the side. So I can at least see this is how much protein I'm getting, and here's where my fat is. I'm still getting it, but this is how much protein I'm getting. And this is becoming more common to be talked about. It's like ribeyes are fatty cuts of meat, right? They've got protein in them too, but this ribeye and this ribeye, it's such a guess on how much protein is in there versus how much fat because of the way that meat is cut. No two ribeyes look the same. Same with New York strips. Sirloin is pretty clear, how much protein is in there. And a filet mignon, obviously, it's pretty clear. And then you can see the protein and then add the fat on. So if you're someone who is wanting to really understand, I'm hitting that protein for a certain reason, like I am, it's better to eat a leaner cut and then get that fat on the side. So you're still keeping your fat in there, but you are for sure getting that protein in too.
And were you noticing anything on your blood work that was getting worse? Or you were noticing I'm gaining weight? There was no other signs or symptoms or anything to make you, like, it's interesting. You're like, I'm healthy, my blood work's great, everything's great, and I'm going to make this change?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's body recomposition. So like my health markers are fine. I felt fine, but my body was not going to continue if I just kept doing what I was doing, and I wasn't going to start lifting weights, and I wasn't going to supplement that with enough protein. At some point that would show up. When I start going through menopause, that would show up. The body keeps a score. I would pay my debt at some point for saying everything is fine now and not understanding what is coming for my body as a woman when hormones start changing and muscle starts going away, because that's just what happens when you don't preserve it and do anything to prevent that. And so, yeah, nothing is wrong right now. But if I don't acknowledge those changes are coming and start being a preventative measure, proactive about it, then I think that would be probably pretty harmful for me in 10 years.
Because you weren't going to the gym before. And so now when you're going to the gym, like, you're trying to preserve the muscle you did have, but also build some muscle, because it gets harder to build muscle as you age as well. So you're trying to get it in now sooner, and then adding in the protein, even though it's not like, yeah, I noticed I was getting a little bit more fat around my waist right now with what I'm eating or doing. Okay.
No, I wasn't seeing. Now, I mean, I didn't love the way my body looked, but I was very honest with myself. Like, yeah, I don't go to the gym. I can't get mad at my body for looking like I don't have a six pack when I do absolutely nothing to even kind of get a six pack. My arms were not toned. Some people call that skinny fat. There's all kinds of words you can sling around. I was just sedentary. So I wasn't overweight, and I didn't have a big, I wouldn't be considered enclosed to be a bigger person. But, tone wise, muscle wise, like, I didn't have that much, because why would I? I did nothing to get it. And so, yeah, I wasn't gaining any weight or anything, but I was not shape shifting the way that I want to.
There's a message out there. You don't have to exercise. You don't have to lift weights. Just eat healthy, which, yes, for a lot of people, that helps you lose weight. But that doesn't help you build muscle. The only way you're going to build muscle is if you're literally forcing the muscle to grow. And so while I also think with movement tends to be intimidating. Like, oh, I don't know how to go to the gym, or I don't know how to do anything. Like, start with walking. But again, walking's not going to put on muscle. It's not going to give you a six pack. It's healthy. It's good for your heart, good for your sleep, your depression, your digestion, your blood sugars, but it's not going to help you build muscle. So if you really want to have the six pack, have the muscle tone, not be afraid of falling and hurting yourself because you don't have that protective muscle, then unfortunately we gotta go to the gym, which I shouldn't say unfortunately because I love it. And I think it's like a really good way to just get out some like built up energy. I think a lot of people have stress in their life. And so they tend to reach for the junk food, reach for the cell phone. Okay, let me go on TikTok, distract myself.
Yeah.
Let me buy something. And instead it's like, or I can go and release that stress, that depression, that, built up tension and release it into some weights. And again, I'm not going to the gym either and doing like these crazy sets. People always say, oh, well, Lillie, like you eat so much, but I could never do that because you're going to the gym all the time. I'm like, I'm not like sweating and going crazy. Like you said, just basic lifts.
Yeah. And I think so many people who, especially those who are so overweight, can't even think about going to the gym yet. That's not even on the radar. Get the food fixed first. Cool, go for it. But then we do have to start talking about like you can lose fat and then you're also, at some point you're going to lose some muscle, you're going to lose some bone density if you're not putting the effort in to preserve those bones and muscles. That's just aging. That's humanity. That if you don't, use it, you lose it. That's a saying because it's true. And not only that, but muscle is good for regulating your blood sugar, and muscle is good for preventing your falls, or if you fall, keeping yourself, the future. So many of us are focused on right here, right now, and not what's going to happen when I'm an 80-year-old woman. But I worked in long-term care, like most of my career as a CNA, as a LPN that was spent in a nursing home. I was faced with that every single day when I went to work for 15 years. So I'm not able to like postpone thinking about those things. I saw people deteriorating in front of my eyes, and they weren't 100 years old when they were in their 60s, some of them in their 50s, and they were lifetimers. Like they were going to stay in the nursing home till the day that they died. And that might be a long time away, but was their quality of life good just because they had life extension? I don't want to live till 100 and not know that I'm here, right? If I live to 100, I want to be able to still go out and play in the garden, see my great grandchildren, whatever, fill in the blank. And so I'm able to understand, like, that scared me.
Yeah.
And that was before I knew anything about nutrition, really. And I was young. I was 19 when I became a nurse. So now seeing 40 coming and understanding, learning so much about menopause and perimenopause, and seeing all these new, new doctors, these women doctors coming out and talking about how important it is to lift weights. Like you can't just walk. That's not going to do it. That's great. Walk. It's wonderful. See the green and the blue and get outside. But if you do not lift, then you're going to lose the muscle. And if you lose the muscle, then you're losing mobility. And then if you lose mobility, then the next thing you know, you've broke a hip, you're in the nursing home. And so it's this domino effect that I'm trying to really get on top of for myself. And that's what really brought this on, is I just was like, I'm going to be 40. What happens after 40? 50? What happens after 50, 60? What am I doing to make sure when I get 50 and 60, I'm still okay, and not just okay, but like really happy, healthy, and strong.
When someone's been eating a lot more carbohydrates and then they switch to doing a lower carb diet or a carnivore diet, their body may flush out a lot more water, which is great because usually that means someone can see some more initial weight loss. However, in doing so, this could also cause people to lose a lot more electrolytes in the process. And so some people may experience heart palpitations, migraines, fatigue. There's this thing called keto flu, where their body is learning to adapt from using carbs for fuel to fat for fuel. And so in the process, someone may just not feel their best. Again, low energy. The headaches are a common one. Even for me, I experienced a lot of eye twitching. Some people experience muscle cramping, as sometimes it can be harder to hold on to our electrolytes. And so to avoid this, I use, and I also recommend my clients use, some high quality electrolytes. I really like Element Electrolytes, who is today's video sponsor. Element Electrolytes has the science-backed ratios of sodium, magnesium, potassium in these individual packets where you can just rip it open, pour inside some water or coffee. I used to put them inside of my milk. I'll throw them inside of my yogurt. But either way, just adding this packet into some liquid is an easy way to add these essential minerals that our body needs to help us with our nerve and heart health. Element does have a raw unflavored packet for people who don't want the stevia or natural flavors. Personally, I like the flavored packets and they don't seem to bother me. So I really like the raspberry, the watermelon, the chocolate salt. If you'd like to check them out, you can use the link in the video description to get 8 free additional packets with any order, or you can get those 8 free packets by going to the URL drinkelement.com/Lillie Kane. So what do your meals look like nowadays? And do you have your macros? Do you know how many calories, proteins, fats, carbs you're having in a day?
Yeah, so minimum 100 grams of protein a day. My fat macro is around that, so 100 to 120. I usually try to stay above 100 just because I have a history of depression and anxiety and panic attacks, thyroid, hormones. I want my fat to still be high, but not at the detriment of my protein. So, and then my carbs, like whatever, honestly. I don't really care how many carbs I get. I'm not trying to keep it under a certain amount, but I do know where they're coming from. So, like the highest I have tracked in the past 2 weeks, I think I had 30 grams of carbs, and I had chili on Halloween at my friend's house that she'd made. It had beans in it. And I was like, whatever, you know. So that's where I'm sitting at. I would love to increase the bottom line protein to 120 grams. I know that's not going to happen overnight. The more I go to the gym, the more I increase my weight over the next few months. I figure I'll probably naturally increase my protein intake to 120. I'm trying really hard not to use supplements to do that and get it from real food. I tried dairy to get my protein in, cottage cheese, whatever. You know, and cottage cheese is Swiss Army knife of getting your protein in if you get on Instagram. And I have Hashimoto's. I reacted to that increase in dairy, the liquid dairy. I can have Parmesan and like good high quality cheeses in small amounts. That doesn't seem to bother me. But I had cottage cheese like 3 days in a row. I had Greek yogurt, even though it was non-sweetened, you know, really high quality stuff. My joints inflamed, and I could really tell like I can't do it that way. I don't want to be adding in a whole bunch of products. Protein shakes as like just a treat. Like I made some chocolate pudding with a protein powder and I didn't even really like it. I was like, yeah, that's not going to work either. So I'm really having to tune into what do I enjoy eating that's going to get my protein in that I can sustain long term, because this is not like a 30-day challenge for myself. Like, I want to do this from now until like I want to be in the gym when I'm 75, like I said. So to do that, I can't just do some crazy high protein wackadoodle, you know, eating the same thing every single day. Like I have to find a place where it's enjoyable, it tastes good, and it is, you know, serving my needs as far as macros and my goals. So I'm still working on that, but right now it's a lot of chicken breast, but I make a chip in the oven. So if it's ground chicken, I just flatten it out. And there's all kinds of variations, and the one that works the best for me is literally just don't add anything to it, just flatten out the chicken and put some salt on it and a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and then I dip that in like egg salad, guacamole, whatever. And that whole sheet is 80, I know it's 88 grams of protein. So I like eat that over the day with some egg salad, with some bacon, with whatever. And then I sub in like my meatballs, and instead of the 80/20 ground beef, now I'm using the lean ground beef. But I'm still getting that fat in because I'm adding cheese. Fat adds up so quickly. I have not had a day where I was like, man, I'm really haven't hit that fat macro today. Like that just doesn't happen to me. So by lowering, you know, the fat in my meat, it has opened the window so I can include all of that protein, not have to supplement with a protein shake or whatever, and still get that fat macro in. There's just the things that I keep eating, and then my ground beef is now leaner, and the ground chicken is like a chip.
So it sounds like from the past to now, you definitely lost some calories in there. Have you noticed with going to the gym and eating less calories or having more protein, that tends to be your body burns more calories at rest anyway with more protein. Have you noticed a shift in your body composition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've dropped, my inches around my waist went down, not a whole lot, but like enough for my jeans to fit different. And just overall body composition, I probably dropped some water weight because I also dropped my carbohydrates down, not because I was trying to eat lower carb, but because I was making room for that protein in those first few weeks. Like, I can't have a salad until I eat my meat, like treating myself like a toddler just to relearn what eating enough protein looks like and giving myself some room to grow and understand what that looks like in my life.
Okay. So you and I are pretty sure the same height. I'm 5'2" tall.
Mhm.
Okay. So again, we got 10 years difference, but I eat about 180 to 190 grams of protein a day, 180 to 190 grams of fat in a day, and about 70 to 80 grams of carbs. So my calories are like pretty stinking high. So I'm like, if I ever need to lose weight or something like that, that's going to be easier for me because I can pull from so much versus if I,
Yeah.
like a lot of women who I meet, they're eating so little to begin with
Mhm.
that they're in a diet mode. They're trying to lose weight more and more fasting, cut more, cut more. And eventually gets to the point where their body's kind of stuck and they're not seeing any weight loss because the goal isn't actually to like starve yourself to weight loss. It's to like boost your metabolism, build more strength. And then from there, if we needed to cut back, we can cut back to here, not be here and cut down even further.
Right. And so like one day I will eat a lot. And one day I'll be like, not that much. But by the end of the week, like it looks like a normal set of macros, right? And depending on where I'm at in my cycle, because we as women, like we're triggered by our hormones. Like sometimes we're really ravenous and sometimes we're like, I hate food or whatever. We're all so different. But over the 2 weeks I've been tracking, and I hate tracking, okay? Don't think I enjoy it, but it is a thing I am doing, so I know what the heck I am actually doing in reality, not up here in La La Land. Like I can tell myself I'm eating plenty of protein all day long, but am I? And how do I know that until I actually track it? One day I ate 1,200 calories in one meal. First meal of the day. It was a lot. That was a big day. And then the next day I was like, I didn't eat that much. And so all of this is because I'm working on so many things that are new for my body. Like I'm increasing my protein. I'm playing around with fat. I'm going to the gym. There's a lot of variables. And so I'm giving myself a full 7 months. So I did this because I was like, I'm going to try and get my act together before I hit 40. 7 months is what I gave myself. A year in reality is how long it's probably going to take me to get a full, like, this is how I do things. This is my lifting schedule. This is how much protein I eat. I'm focusing on my sleep, daylight, sunshine, all the things that come along. Plus, I have two little kids. Plus, Ken travels for work a lot. And in life, people think things are going to be, this is what I do and this is what I do forever. And like, that's just crazy talk. I'm giving myself 7 months minimum, and a year, when I'm turning 41, hopefully I can look back and be like, all right, I have a good foundation now. Where do I go from here? I'm not going to know everything because menopause and perimenopause, like those things are going to come along and smack me right in the face, especially if I, don't have some humility and know that like it's not going to be as easy as I would like it to be. And so that's why I'm preparing now, doing what I can with the research that we have and talking to other women and listening to people. Like I listen to Stacey Sims a lot. I listen to all the podcasts and all the things, and I very often don't listen to carnivore community stuff, um, just because it's so one way or the other. And it's distracting. So I know what most people find important is protein. Protein is important. Where you get it from differs on who you listen to. I'm going to get mine from an animal, and doesn't matter who I listen to. That's where I'm going to get it. Fat is important for hormones and mental health and blah, blah, blah. Like those things are evidence-based facts, period. So I think people get too distracted by like the high fat, the low fat, the carbs, that. What do most people in healthcare say? Wellness community? Fat is good for your hormones. You need it. Protein is very important, right? Like most people are not arguing that.
Yeah, totally. I'll leave links to all of Neisha's social media handles, contact information, and her popular YouTube channel in the video description. And like I mentioned, there will be a second part to this conversation with Neisha where we talk about simple strategies to increasing your protein. So be sure to subscribe for that. And if you enjoyed today's video, I know you're going to love the conversation I had with Dr. Roshni, where we cover the top 3 foods quietly causing insulin resistance. And I'll link that video right here and in the video description. I hope you guys have a happy day, and I'll see you soon.